Very latest from the Middle East, where we've got word of a new 5-day ceasefire that's been announced between Israel and the Palestinians. Both sides agreeing to hold their fire to allow more time for negotiations going on in Cairo, Egypt. But at the same time, there are reports that some militants in Gaza breached the ceasefire just before it was about to run out, firing rockets into Israel. With more on this conflict, we've got Grant Rumley, a research analyst with the Foundation for Defense of Democracies in Washington. Tell me, what do you see at this stage in the talks? Is it promising?
Well, I think what we're seeing again is a disparity between what officials are saying and what is actually happening on the ground. We're a couple hours into a ceasefire that's already been broken in some sense by militant groups within Gaza firing rockets towards Israel. Israel has retaliated with airstrikes in Gaza City. Hamas officials are denying that they are launching these rockets. They're saying they're pledged to a 5-day ceasefire. Israel is saying it's pledged to a 5-day ceasefire. But again, the situation on the ground not exactly matching what we're hearing from the politicians.
Now, in terms of diplomacy in the region, do you see any potential for a long-term solution as these talks are taking place?
Well, usually in the Middle East, these sort of traumatic incidents and events, and this one certainly qualifies as very traumatic for both sides, are usually the impetus for sort of long-term projects, for agreements and negotiations that tend to deal with the situation beyond the immediate. I think we're going to see a concerted effort by all parties to sort of rethink how they approach Gaza. It's become clear that while Hamas is in control and while they are militarized and have these rockets and have these capabilities for tunnels, there's not exactly going to be a lasting quiet on that border. So in that sense, you need to sort of tackle it. And I think you're seeing Israeli politicians look at it. You need to tackle this military problem from a political angle.
Political angle, what about international politics? Does that help in any way? The United States?
Well, there's the international and then there's the regional. I think the United States and to an extent countries of Europe have tried to involve themselves here, and John Kerry for the most part has failed in this attempt. I think what we're seeing is a regional axis develop where you have countries like Egypt and Saudi Arabia who are overwhelmingly against the Muslim Brotherhood and by extension Hamas, and you have countries like Turkey and Qatar who have implicit and sometimes explicit support for Hamas. And what you see is these countries forming sort of an axis. So I think Israel and Egypt, as they both border Gaza, are the ones that are more interested in a lasting solution or a lasting agreement. I think they're both looking for some quiet on their borders.
This situation, even just touching it, becomes so raw. We've got this 5-day ceasefire. Do you expect it to last?
Well, I'd certainly hope so, and the people on the ground are certainly hope so. And these ceasefires seem to come and go and are broken. But what I think we're seeing is a new stage in this conflict. Israel has destroyed most, if not all, the tunnels. They say they've hit all the tunnels they know about. I don't think there's going to be a large drive to put boots back on the ground and reinvade Gaza. What we're more than likely to see is a lower intensity version of this conflict where Israel conducts airstrikes towards rocket facilities. We see rocket responses, and sometimes vice versa, until this situation sort of evolves until where we can get a political agreement.
Thanks for educating us on this, Grant. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.